If you lost your Fortinet firewall config, I got great news for you. Hackers backed it up for you. Basically, hackers have leaked 15,000 Fortinet firewall configs that were vulnerable devices. So for those that didn't know how their Fortinet firewall was configured, unfortunately, now everyone knows how your Fortinet firewall is configured. This vulnerability only affects people who expose their management interfaces to the internet. I will say, at internet scale, 15,000 isn't that bad. It is bad because they're all firewall configs, but that isn't that high of a number. Patch your Fortinets and don't expose them to the internet.
I just don't understand how people get worked up over TikTok without fully understanding the implications of all the other crap that we're getting from China that's probably backdoored as well. As soon as TikTok was shut down and believed to shut down, they were moving to completely different apps.
And the two apps that they were pushing in replacement, like sort of last minute, there was a 216% increase in people on Duolingo trying to learn Mandarin because they were pushing Red Note and Lemonade. And I looked at the APKs for both of those. And I think the word backdoor was in there, like, I don't know, 8 times. And you look at all the URLs, they're all .cn.
If you look underneath the hood, a whole bunch of our supply chain semiconductor production is all done in China. It seems like it's performative bipartisan legislation that kind of acknowledges that there's a problem without actually trying to get to the root of the problem.
The FBI forces Chinese malware to delete itself from thousands of US computers. Kind of an interesting thing. Basically, the FBI did a press release on January 14th saying that basically they took over the C2 server for this malware and then forced it to delete itself. This was, again, PRC backed, but focused on the threat group Mustang Panda, which was affecting a version of Plug X, which is apparently a malware. So it's kind of an interesting, cyber warfare, I guess you could call it, fight back. Let's talk about Salt Typhoon apparently also being in the U.S. government before they were in telcos.
We keep on talking about things like ransomware, info stealers, all this stuff that has immediate impacts to organizations and individuals. But one of the things we've been talking about on the show for a while is we really, really need to be concerned about the persistent threats, right? Whenever they came up with advanced persistent threat, that name meant something. Advanced meant that they could bypass existing security controls, right? They could bypass your firewalls. They could bypass your endpoint product protection, whatever it is you're running. And persistent means they want to stay in your network. Like if you're looking at ransomware is not an advanced persistent threat. That is not their goal. Their goal is not to persist.
Well, it can be. It actually can. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't want to argue too much, but I will say that there are ransomware threat actors that they classify as APTs because their motives are different than just immediately get in and drop crypto lockers everywhere. But anyway,
I'm talking specifically the ones that are locking you out right away, right? So advanced persistent threat, they're going to cause you long-term damage. And when you're looking at nation-state actors like China and Russia, somewhat a lesser extent lately, like that's what they want to do. They want to dwell inside of your network and siphon off as much data as they possibly can. And I don't feel like the industry has really came to grips with that type of threat actor. And reading these articles and kind of seeing how this all unwinds, I think that that's being more and more like apparent every single day.
Texas has sued Allstate, alleging that the firm and its data broker used data from apps like Gas Buddy, Routely, and Life360 to quietly track drivers.
If you think about it from an insurance company's perspective, it's great data, right? Because like Life360, it'll tell you if there's hard braking, if there's cell phone use, if there's acceleration.
They're tracking me through a totally different app called Gas Buddy that is in no way affiliated with Allstate, right? So it's like kind of a backdoor into my data. That's the sketchy part. This is tracking geolocation, accelerometer data, gyroscopic data.
That way they know you're drifting.
They have a drifting detection algorithm. They're like, your insurance rates have 2x because you were drifting last week.
Join us for live InfoSec news every Monday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the Black Hills InfoSec YouTube channel.